powered by Riverside.
What's going on, everybody, and welcome into a brand new episode of the Broken Wheel Bearing Podcast. I'm your host, Matt Codd. This week, riding with you solo on this Wednesday night. No Jake Belts this week, unfortunately. Unfortunately, he's on vacation this week. Hope to get him back next week. We've been having a lot of fun. Him and I tag teaming the show together. Jake, if you're listening, wherever you're at, first of all, I hope you make it safely. And of course, thanks again. And looking forward to next week's episode. I guess Kansas already, right? We got Texas this week, or this past Sunday, we had Texas. This week we had Kansas, or this week coming up, excuse me, we have Kansas. Little Midwest swing action before the All Star break. A couple of things that are kind of exciting before we get into some tonight's discussion. We are now officially, I think, two broadcasts away from NASCAR on Fox basically being done, which I know a lot of people don't care for NASCAR on Fox. I like NASCAR on Fox, but I'm also looking forward to a change up. We're 2 weeks away from having that change up, and Amazon Prime will be taking over at the Coke 600 and going for 5 races, and then we have TNT for a 5 race stretch as well. So the next 10 races after North Wilkesboro are going to be pretty exciting, especially at the new broadcast booth. A couple announcements were made with that. I think that Amazon and TNT, in my personal opinion, have done a very good job of surrounding the booths with a lot of talent. I think that was probably the massive failure when ESPN came back into NASCAR in 2007. They did not do a good job from the start. I know they brought in Alan Bestwick for the last couple of years of it, but unfortunately, the damage was done. Right. I mean, the broadcast, the booth itself was not great. And unfortunately, we lost a lot of fans, amongst other things besides the broadcast, right? Like, the broadcast didn't help. But like I said, it was a little too late for Alan Bestwick. I was kind of hoping on this new television deal we were going to get a return of Alan Bestwick, but I'm really looking forward to the Amazon Prime coverage with Dale Earnhardt Jr., Adam Alexander, and Steve Letarte. I think that's going to be a very fun booth. We get those three together for the next 10 races, starting at the Coke 600, and then we go to our friends at NBC. So lots looking forward to. So it's exciting. It is exciting. We are basically, I mean, we're cruising through the 2025 season so far. But again, happy Wednesday to everybody here on the Broken Wheel Bearing Podcast. You know the routine. Sorry for the early start time here on this show. Due to the fact that I was riding solo, I think my wife kind of requested, "Hey, do you mind just doing a episode a little early tonight, so you're not up until the middle of the night?" And I said, "Yeah, sure, why not? Let's start at 7 o'clock." So I appreciate everyone joining us live on YouTube this evening, and that was able to join us at 7 o'clock tonight. We really appreciate everyone's love and all your support through, I want to say, a big transition on this podcast, right? I mean, we kind of started up with the live broadcasting late last year on YouTube. It was kind of a hit, it was successful. And then again, we enjoy having the interactions live on air with the fans while you're listening to the show. So, again, if you're live on YouTube with us, feel free. Blown Engine chat line wide open. Lots of people should be, a lot of bones to be picked this past weekend, especially if you're a Ryan Preece fan, a Carson Hocevar fan, Bubba Wallace fan. Hell, even if you're a Justin Allgaier fan from the Xfinity Series, pop on in. Love to have a little banter with you all tonight. Hopefully, I can be the voice of reasoning throughout the episode to kind of relax you as we head into Kansas. So, a couple show announcements this week. Let's, like we do every single week, let's run them through. Yes, we are live on YouTube on Wednesday nights. We will be back to an 8 p.m. program next week when Jake comes back. Like I said, this week it was 7 o'clock just to change things up for myself, riding solo. But we'll be live on YouTube every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Feel free to chime on in. Feel free to subscribe to us on YouTube at our YouTube channel, the Broken Wheel Bearing Podcast. Also, we are on Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Amazon Music. So unfortunately, if you're not able to make the live broadcast on YouTube, multiple ways to continue listening to us on those three platforms. If you enjoy everything that you're listening to, again, we always appreciate the compliments. We appreciate the likes. We appreciate all the support that all of our fans have done for us, which, has really kind of grown our podcast within itself. I mean, we've gotten a lot of confidence in regards to doing shows on the road, meeting new fans, all that type of stuff. So we appreciate kind of the fan base that we have now and have started with and have grown to. So again, if you do come across us, if you're brand new to this podcast, you love what you're hearing, feel free to like, subscribe on Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Amazon Music, again at the Broken Wolverine Podcast. Also, finally, Facebook. Follow us on Facebook at the Broken Wolverine Podcast. Every single week, Thursdays, we do a question of the week for all of our fans. If you listen to us live on air, obviously you'll get a head start on that question of the week, which we'll be doing at the end of the show tonight, which I'm pretty excited about. I'm really excited about this question, so more to come on that. Final show announcements this week. Pocono. We are now officially close to a month away from Pocono. Time has flown by so far in this 2025 Cup Series season. A couple of things on our end, right? BWB Tailgate will be up there at the track on Sunday, June 22nd. We're going to be making more announcements with this podcast, this tailgate, probably within the next 2 weeks. So if you follow us on Facebook at the Broken Wolverine Podcast, and of course, if you listen to our episodes each and every single week, we will have more information as it comes. But on Facebook, we'll be making a big announcement and basically sending out an invite like we did last year to all of our fans. Finally, if you want to sit with us at Pocono, we'll be posting up tomorrow on the Broken Wolverine Podcast Facebook page. We will be posting up, to make sure that we have our fans who want to sit with us during the race. Just comment when we post up the question tomorrow, and comment on the status so we make sure that you're accounted for. If you don't want to sit with us, that's fine. You want to get your own tickets, that's great. No problem whatsoever. Just come by and join us at our tailgate. We will also be doing a live episode. Jake and I have confirmed we will be doing a live episode live from the track. And for all the fans that kind of know about Pocono, it's not the best with internet. So mobile hotspots is going to be like it was down in Martinsville. So we'll be doing a live episode at Pocono. Final show announcement this week as well. We've been talking about for a while. Dover, Monster Mile, July 20th. We will be down there doing a live episode live from the track. And again, let's get through the Pocono part of the Broken Wolverine podcast season, and we'll get more information about Dover as soon as we get back from Pocono. So, before we hop into tonight's discussion, I know that there was a lot of discussion. I made an announcement a couple weeks ago about going down to Charlotte for the Coke 600, and a couple people have asked me because we're getting close to the Coke 600. Hey, are you still going down? All that type of stuff. Well, unfortunately, change of plans, circumstances. I had to take on some unfortunate financial woes, I guess, over the last couple weeks. So that Charlotte trip right now is in jeopardy, and it looks like we're about 95 to about 99% sure that this podcast won't be down in Charlotte. So I apologize to all of our fans down in North Carolina. There's a lot of great folks that listen to us, promote us. I was really looking forward to going down to Charlotte, but the last month has been kind of a heavy burden. And like I said, unfortunately, due to the fact that my wife and I are expecting in August, I can't make the drive with her. So we would end up flying, but because of the financial woes, it basically cut us out with our plane tickets. So I'm hoping maybe something changes with the next 2 weeks, but as of now, it doesn't look like it's going to happen. So meet us at Pocono, meet us at Dover. I apologize. I hope to get down to Charlotte within the next year. So, all right, that's going to bring us to a green and white checker flag tonight on the show announcements. We do have some news this week that we're going to talk about with all of you. And I think that a lot of fans are going to be pretty excited about this. And when the news was officially announced, I was amped because it was I've been saying this for years about the championship race. So the breaking news this week was that NASCAR is going to be bringing the championship race back to Homestead, but that's not all. So The article is by David Neal from the Miami Herald. I like this source. Obviously, it's all over the place. jski.com, NASCAR.com. Everyone's got this article rocking and rolling because I think it's very exciting. And I think a lot of fans, I think we kind of speculated that NASCAR was going to go back to Homestead for the championship race due to the fact that the contract with Phoenix was up for the championship race after I believe after this year, clearly. And with the way that NASCAR put Homestead in the schedule, and Homestead basically saying we're doing this for the renovations to hope and bring the championship race back to Homestead, Miami. Um, so in this article by David Neal from the Miami Herald, NASCAR championship weekend ends up returning in 2026. That was NASCAR, which officially announced it on Tuesday morning. NASCAR's Cup, Xfinity, and Craftsman Truck Series title races will be decided November 6th through November 8th of 2026 at Homestead Miami Speedway. Homestead joins a rotation of venues for the season climax that will include Phoenix, the current championship home. The rest of the tracks won't be announced all at once to give each its day in the sun, NASCAR Chief Venue and Race and Innovation Officer Ben Kennedy said, but expect more 1.5 miles like Homestead and short tracks and not so much super speedways and road courses in the rotation. Fans have been asking about it for a long time, said Ben Kennedy, who said Homestead also was a popular choice among drivers and teams for the racing and the size of the South Florida market. Kennedy said fan surveys ranked Homestead as the number one place for the championship to be decided. Also, he said NASCAR has several pages of upgrades they want to make in the facility, to many be done by 2026 championship race. Homestead is a special place, Homestead Miami Speedway president Guillermo Santa Cruz said. It's a special track and it's a special location for the fans. NASCAR drivers tend to love Homestead for all the different racing grooves that put more control in the driver's hands. Can we move around the racetrack? Can we do different things? Tires falling off. Is that fun to us? Yeah, that's fun. So Joey Logano, who won the first of his 3 titles at Homestead in 2018. It's tough, challenging. There are a couple of bumps there. You're running up next to the wall. You can also run a little bit off the wall. You can do stuff. That is a special racetrack and it's a special place. So, lengthy article, clearly, but we'll post this on our Broken Wolverine Podcast Facebook page for your reading enjoyment. It's from the Miami Herald, and the author was David Neal. Again, even though we post this article up on our Facebook page, feel free. I mean, this has been all over the place over the last couple of days. Let's get into some thoughts. And if you're listening to us live on YouTube, feel free to chime on in through the Blown Engine chat line to talk about this championship race weekend and in the rotation. So for years, I've been saying, or for the last couple of years, I was saying this on this show. NASCAR should be like take the NFL model and rotate the championship race like they do like the NFL does with the Super Bowl. I love this. I love how NASCAR is going to put not just Homestead but also do a championship race rotation. I think Homestead is an incredible choice. I think Phoenix, we've seen the last 4, well, get 5 straight championship races at Phoenix. The problem with, I feel like NASCAR's old model necessarily was that it got stale. It got stale. Every year we knew where the championship race was. Homestead hosted championship race weekend from 2002 all the way till 2019. So there was nothing spectacular, nothing game changing, except for we raced at Homestead once a year, and that was the weekend. And really, for the first I would say probably for the first 10 years, 12 years of the championship race weekend being down at Homestead, Miami, usually it was either the championship was locked up, like in the early years when in 2002 we had Tony Stewart locked up. 2003 we had Matt Kenseth locked up. Yeah, of course we had, the inaugural chase for the Cup, which was a much needed change. But at the same time, you still went into those championship races at Homestead, quote unquote, going, well, Jimmy Johnson needs to not gain 23 points today and then we'll be able to, he will, or if he doesn't, then he won't be the champion. I think in the old cup format before the playoffs that it's currently in, I think the old cup format, I think really the only race I can remember from that championship run was legitimately Tony Stewart and Carl Edwards in 2011. The rest of them were just similar to what the scenarios I just said. Well, Jimmy Johnson goes on the Homestead, and he needs to finish 32nd or worse, and that's when Greg Biffle will have an opportunity to win the championship. So the point is that Homestead got very stale, and then we went to Phoenix. I think year one of Phoenix was exciting. I think year two of Phoenix was exciting. Would say year three of Phoenix got exciting, and then it kind of got dried out. Now, I do believe, and I will always continue saying this, the championship, Phoenix gets ran twice a year. The championship race to me is always a much more high magnitude race and a much more entertaining race than a regular sprint race. It just is, right? I think Phoenix kind of got stale and I think it all stemmed back to the fans' perception of Phoenix after that horrendous Craftsman Truck Series championship back in 2000 or 2023. And then the fans started flipping on it. But that was NASCAR's downfall. And before we had Homestead, what do we have? We had Atlanta for so many years. I love what NASCAR's doing though. I love what they're doing. Yes, we're going to do Homestead. We have Phoenix in a rotation. I do appreciate what they said too. I mean, as a NASCAR fan, I think a lot of people feel the same way. I don't necessarily think we want to end the race or the championship race at a super speedway. Too many outliers. Too many outliers in that race. And in my mind, I think you're playing with fire as well. Because if a lot of these playoff drivers end up getting into a wreck, all of a sudden it's going to be what? The highest of the championship four who didn't DNF or that DNF got the trophy. I think that fans want to see excitement. I think they want to see championship drivers come across the start finish line. So I'm glad that super speedways, even though Ben Kennedy kind of hinted, never say never, but it's unlikely. I'm happy about that. Same with road courses. I love road courses. I do. I think they're very fun. It's a change of pace type of style of racing. It's beating and banging as well. But you know, I'm happy we're avoiding road courses because of the outlier factor. I would love to see more 1.5s. I would love to see short tracks, and I sure as hell would love to see, excuse me, the 1.5s, and I would love to see the short tracks. I would. Um, Interesting enough, though, is I was reading more in depth on this. Ben Kennedy basically kind of rolled out road courses. He kind of rolled out super speedways. No big deal, no problem whatsoever. Completely cool with that. The one thing that is going to be a factor with the championship rotation is clearly weather, unfortunately, right? So it looks like if you live near Pocono or Dover or Michigan, Indianapolis, early November, maybe a little, you might be playing with fire going to those tracks due to the weather. Same with New Hampshire. So it does not look like they're going to rotate those northern tracks. So what does that leave us? Really, what does that leave us left? Well, I think that we're going to get to a point where NASCAR is going to want to probably finish a regular season at Charlotte Motor Speedway. I do. I think that's going to be part of the rotation. Like I said, it's Homestead and Phoenix as at the moment. My prediction is going to be, like I said, I believe that they want to end the regular season at Charlotte at one point. So I could see Charlotte being in the rotation with Phoenix and Homestead. Also, I believe that Las Vegas clearly is going to have an impact on that as well in the championship track rotation. The one thing that NASCAR is not shy or afraid of doing is putting the championship race near big markets. They just aren't. So Las Vegas is a big market. Charlotte's a big market compared to other tracks and states we go to. Miami or Homestead, even though it's not in Miami, it's on the out. It's outside of Miami. Miami is a big market. And then a couple more tracks that kind of popped in my head. I think that a lot of people would love to see Kansas host a championship 4 race. I don't think that Kansas. I think Kansas is going to have the same problems that they did up at Pocono, or like that they would at Pocono or Dover at that time of the year. I think it's going to get a little too cold. So I think Kansas may get rolled out. But the other one too that someone brought up was Nashville Super Speedway, which is a very interesting choice because for me, I kind of feel like it might be a little too cold in Tennessee in early November. It might actually be beautiful at that time. Actually, rephrase everything I just said. I think Nashville would be a great choice. Now, someone did bring up though that Nashville Super Speedway sits about 30 minutes away from the city of Nashville, which is a big market. But I feel like it's the same thing that we have with Homestead Miami in Miami, right? Like we're trying to get the Miami market, but Homestead's still about 30 minutes from Center City, Miami. So I think Nashville would be an awesome choice. So if I actually had it my way, and if you're listening to us live, I definitely would love to hear your choices of track rotation. I would love to see 5 tracks in a rotation: Homestead, Phoenix, Las Vegas, Nashville, and Charlotte. Those are my 5 choices. I think that it brings unique racing, different dynamics at every single track. You have your traditional 1.5. You have your traditional 1.5 with Las Vegas. You have the 1.5D oval shaped Charlotte, big market too with Charlotte. Homestead's a 1.5 oval, which would be incredible. Phoenix, a 1 miler. We saw how interesting that is. And then Nashville would also show us the testament of the driver's ability throughout the whole season with the concrete. Nashville Super Speedway is a 1.33 miler. It's a concrete track. We race at a few concrete tracks in the series: Bristol, Dover, Nashville Super Speedway. So I would love to see those 5 tracks be on my rotation. I don't, and again, this is all speculation on how many tracks are going to be in rotation, but it looks like that NASCAR is going to make a championship rotation as well. Like I said, I'm excited, folks, because I have been bounding the table for this for a while. You had to follow the NFL model, make it a huge. Like I know that they had media week before the championship race, but you got to make it bigger. Make it bigger. I feel like with the championship race model that we have right now, and like I said, it was starting to get stale for the fans. But at the same time, with this rotation, make it like the Super Bowl. Make it available for every driver to talk and all that type of stuff. I think this is really exciting. Now, like I said, I want to hear your thoughts if you're listening to us live on YouTube tonight. So, one track I would say that I want nothing to do with a championship race is the track that we ran at this weekend. And that's Texas Motor Speedway. Um, before we get started, I will say this. I think Texas has become much more entertaining since the removal of the second date. I think Texas has become one of those tracks that is much more entertaining because there's no second date. But I also think that it brings a different type of racing in the regular season. And I am sure that people are probably scratching their head going, what the hell is he talking about? Different type of racing in the regular season. We have 3 1.5 D ovals, D shaped ovals. If you look at all those tracks that that Speedway Motorsports owns, right? Charlotte, Atlanta, Texas. He Speedway Motorsports has turned all 3 of them into a completely different type of track. Think about it. Atlanta, super speedway now. It is a super speedway type track. Yeah, D-shaped oval, whatever, super speedway. Charlotte, D-shaped traditional style racing, all that type of stuff, right? Charlotte. It's the prestigious track. They're going to make sure that it's always going to stay prestigious. But then you got Texas, who is, in my mind, is like the afterthought because of how many years of bad racing we got there. There's no doubt about it. There's no doubt about it. We've had many years of bad racing at that track. But since they have taken away that second date, though, and since the surface has completely worn out down there, the racing, in my personal opinion, has gotten better. It has gotten better. 2021, the first year in the playoffs. Very entertaining race. 2022 and 2023, same thing. When it became a single date, it was much more entertaining. Also, the fact that they dropped it from a 500 miler to a 400 miler. But personally, for me, I like Texas in this time slot, in the schedule. I like Texas in the sprint. I don't think it deserves a playoff race whatsoever. So help me God, they don't put it as a championship rotation race at all. There'll be a lot of work that needs to be done to that track, one, but two, I don't trust that track will ever get up to speed to be there. But like I said, I mean, now that the surface is kind of worn out, the other two D-shaped ovals are completely different. This track is, again, it's kind of it's an entertaining race. I know there was a lot of cautions. It seems like there's always a lot of cautions when we go to Texas Motor Speedway. But them moving it back to spring as its single date and out of the playoffs, to me personally, has helped this track out massively. Saturday was really interesting though, down at Texas Motor Speedway. So for everyone that knows, Kyle Larson ended up winning the Xfinity Series race. He was filling in for Connor Zilic, who unfortunately got hurt at that wreck last week at Talladega. Hopefully everything's okay. Lower back injury. It looked like at Junior Motorsports, he was walking around. I saw some of the videos and some of the pictures. It looks like he's in good spirits. But Kyle Larson ended up having to fill in that seat. So he ended up winning this race. But Justin Allgaier, who Junior Motorsports teammate, led 99 laps in this race on Saturday. He was a really good car. He was chasing down Kyle Larson late in this race. He also won stage one. Interesting scenario happens. Chris Wright, the lap car, off pace, everything, ended up getting in the way of Justin Allgaier, and Allgaier ended up wrecking at the end of this race. And I know there was a ton of reaction on social media about how, NASCAR needs to do a better job with black flagging. Chris Wright, like, if you can't maintain speed, get the hell off the track, all that type of stuff. And there's no doubt about it. I mean, I watched the highlights. I watched the replay. I mean, Chris Wright, he had no business. I don't even know what he was doing. He ended up switching lanes right in front of Allgaier. And then Allgaier tried to get around him. And like I said, they ended up colliding, and it basically crushed Justin Allgaier's what would have been a great day. Maybe a possible hunt down to Kyle Larson. Got to give Justin Allgaier a lot of credit, though. On social media, everyone's been ripping Chris Wright, all that type of stuff, and rightfully so, because come on, you can't be doing that late in the race when the race is on the line. You cannot be shifting lanes you cannot be doing that at a slower pace. You can't. But Allgaier, and this is where I love Justin Allgaier as a driver. Justin Allgaier said it best. He's like, the hard part is ultimately this falls on my shoulders. Justin Allgaier blamed himself. And you know what? I got to give my man a lot of credit for that. A lot of credit this week from Justin Allgaier. Not just did that wreck basically cost you a good points day, not just did the wreck just basically cost you possibly a win. Then you own up to it. And do I think it was Justin Allgaier's fault at all after watching the replay? Absolutely not. But at the same time, he knows that he is the much better driver in that situation, and he needs to get around to it. And unfortunately, he got basically collided with this large car that was on the track at the time. Also, coming out of the Xfinity Series before we get to the Cup tonight, let's do this. Oh, give me a second. Let's get to a round of applause. Yeah, round of applause this week goes to the CW. That's right. 12 straight weeks on the CW for the Xfinity Series that their audience has been over 1 million views. 1 million views for the Xfinity Series for the first 12 weeks of the CW broadcast. Job well done. I know there was a lot of people that were questioning this move, with the new television deal, with the new television contract. Oh, it's not going to work. We need cable television to survive in this sport. And God forbid we expand. CW, first 12 weeks, 1 million views on the Xfinity series. That's not Cup. That is not even the Cup series. That is the Xfinity series. I think a lot of our fans on this show that listen to us each and every week, I say this all the time. I have been massively impressed with that CW broadcast. Completely impressed. And I knew that Adam Alexander was the perfect guy for it. He's been the voice of the Xfinity series since 2015 when he came over. It basically started at FS1 and Fox after TNT lost the contract the first time. But with Parker Kligerman and Jamie McMurray, the chemistry of those three guys has been absolutely incredible. And I want to say this as well. I know a lot of people love the rotational driver booth that FS1 does, and it's cute and all that type of stuff. It's cool for the ARCA Menards and it's cool for the truck series. I need real broadcasters, not driver broadcasters. I need real broadcasters in the Xfinity series, and we've got three really good ones. And what I mean by real broadcasts, I mean drivers that aren't racing in the Cup Series right now. Right. I know Parker Kligerman sometimes does a one off and all that type of stuff, but I look at Parker Kligerman more as a broadcaster than a driver at this point. But I got to give credit, like I said, credit to where credit's due. I mean, the production has been outstanding. The scoring pylon was fantastic. The three guys in the booth, the three of them just gel so perfectly together. This has been an incredible transition from what we've gotten from FS1 and Fox over the last probably 10 years. And like I said, I got nothing against listening to drivers who are in the booth and their opinion, but hearing Logano and Keselowski on every single week because they really can't get anybody else on air was kind of getting annoying at that point. Parker Kligerman and Jamie McMurray were Jamie McMurray was a former driver. Parker Kligerman still does one-offs, but more so he's a broadcaster at this point. Yeah, their insight is incredible, but they also have become broadcasters. Where when they were doing the rotational booth with these drivers that were in the Cup Series, those guys were main focus was driving, not broadcasting. So round of applause again this week to the CW. And for all the fans, and it kind of goes back to our first conversation tonight, going back to the fans that are going, well, I don't know how Amazon Prime is going to work out on the broadcast. Listen, you guys were all questioning the CW. The CW came up clutch and they did a hell of a job. So far, in my mind, they've done an outstanding job so far this season. Definitely big returns so far from NASCAR in regards to that. So wanted to give a shout out to the CW and the Xfinity series on that. But Sunday, we had the Worth 400 down at Texas Motor Speedway. Let's talk about multiple topics this week, but before we do that, let's get to the final the final scoreboard presented by jski.com this week through NASCAR Cup Series program. Winner this week down in Texas was Joey Logano. Finishing second was Ross Chastain. Third was Ryan Blaney. Fourth was Kyle Larson. Fifth, Eric Jones. Sixth, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Seventh was Austin Dillon. Eighth was John Hunter Nemechek. Ninth was Christopher Bell. And 10th was Daniel Suarez. So that was your top 10 coming from the Worth 400. Let's jump down to the top 10 in stage 1 and 2. Your top 10 in stage 1 was Austin Cindric, who ended up winning stage 1, followed up by Tyler Reddick, Josh Berry, Kyle Larson, Chris Buescher, Carson Hocevar, William Byron, Ty Gibbs, Michael McDowell, and Eric Jones was your top 10 in stage 1. Top 10 in stage 2, Kyle Larson, Tyler Reddick, Alex Bowman, Ryan Preece, Bubba Wallace, Carson Hocevar, William Byron, Ryan Blaney, Joey Logano, and Kyle Busch. So those were your top 10 in stage 2. Laps led in this race. Well, first up, let's start off with the leader, Joey Logano. Led twice in this race, only for 7 laps, but critical 7 laps in this race came at the end from your race winner, Joey Logano. Then Ryan Blaney, he led twice for 2 laps. Kyle Larson led for 4 times, for 90 laps. John Hunter Nemechek led 1 time for 1 lap. Todd Gilliland led 1 time for 4 laps. William Byron led 1 time for 22 laps. And then we had Tyler Reddick 1 time for 1 lap. Carson Hocevar led 1 time for 22 laps to start the race off. Austin Cindric led 3 times for 60 laps. Michael McDowell led twice for 19. Josh Berry led 1 time for 41 laps. Then Bowman and Denny Hamlin both led 1 time for 1 lap. So that is your final stat line coming out of Texas Motor Speedway from the Worth 400. Let's get into some topics now. Well, let's start off with before we get into the main course of the Cup topics. I do want to give a special shout out to Carson Hocevar this week. He ended up winning his first career pole in the Cup Series. Also had the fastest car in practice. Now, unfortunately, it didn't pay off, but that 77 man has had some speed this year. And I wouldn't be surprised to see Carson Hocevar maybe pull off an upset within the next probably couple months before the playoffs. He has been really, really fast. Now, like I said, he's also gotten himself in a lot of trouble with other drivers. We'll talk about that later in this program. But yeah, I mean, special shout out to Spire Motorsports and really not just Carson Hocevar, but all of Spire Motorsports, because yeah, Carson Hocevar had the pole, fastest time in practice, yada, yada, yada. Michael McDowell led 19 laps in this race, and it wasn't just, okay, 19 pit, okay, everyone's pitting and all that type of stuff. Let's see if we can get strategy. No, he was on the verge of winning this race, and he held off some very good drivers at the end of this race as well. So shout out to Spire Motorsports this week in the Cup Series. But topic number one, we got to talk about him, and that's 22. And for all the Logano fans on this show, for all the fans that love Joey Logano, I got to say this. The man started 27th in this race. The man started 27th and just got better and better and better throughout this race. He did. This was a very good Joey Logano win. You didn't know what he had in the beginning of the week in regards to speed, in regards to all that good stuff. But some good strategy, some great passing. Again, starting 27th and ended up winning this race. That's not something to scoff at. Logano, to me, has had a very, very interesting 2025, right? I mean, it is his title defense year. He won the title last year. We had a lot of discussions and a lot of complaints going into 2025, how he was a weak champion, lowest average finish, all this bullshit. But the one thing I got to say about this, Logano right now is kind of trending, except for the only difference is that he won earlier in the season than he did last year. He's trending kind of on the same pace that he did in 2024. Like I said, the only difference with me, or in 2025 for Joey Logano and 2024 for Joey Logano, is that he has a win. He got a win in the first 13 weeks. Logano didn't win his first race, I believe, until week 16, 17, somewhere around there last year, with his first win coming at Nashville. But before Joey Logano's first win at Nashville in 2024, Joey Logano only had what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 top 10s and 2 top 5s. And then he won his race in Nashville. Let's go to 2025 with Joey Logano. Joey Logano only had, before Sunday, he only had 1 top 10. 1. And that was an 8th at Martinsville. Granted, he got disqualified last week, and we've already beat that to a dead horse. So we don't need to bring that up. I mean, but he only had 1 top 10 going into Texas this week. When I looked up the stat lines and all this data, I was like, whoa, he's only got 1 top. Now, I mean, obviously Sunday is now his first top 5 of the season and the second top 10. But to me, Joey Logano is trending in the same direction that he was in 2024. And the scariest part about the 22 as well, I feel like they do this. They almost play this like game, right? Well, all we need to do is win and get in. All we need to do is just win the race and get into the dance, and we will make it far into the dance. And usually they are right. Over the last 3 seasons, since 2022, they have made it, they've won 2 championships. And let's call it as is. In 2022, yeah, he picked up his first win at Darlington. That was week number 14. 2024, he didn't pick up his first win until like week 17. There was legit talks, remember? I mean, there was talks that people thought he was going to miss the playoffs. There was talks that they were like, well, when we got to New Hampshire, remember the scoring pylon all from USA last year when NBC took over? Where's the 22? Is the 22 going to make it? What's he doing? All this, that, and this and that. He ends up winning Nashville. Then goes on an immaculate, in my personal opinion, as I said this before on multiple episodes going throughout the offseason and the regular season, Joey Logano did an immaculate playoff run, in my personal opinion. Yeah, he didn't have the highest average finish. It's no big deal. He won a race. Won a race at Atlanta. Put him into the round of 12. Yeah, Bowman's disqualification kind of helped him out. But unfortunately, the disqualification happened. Put Logano into the playoffs. And I even said it. Multiple teams going to be punching air about that. What does he do? First race, round of 8. If you give Paul Wolfe and Joey Logano, believe it or not, guys, if you give Paul Wolfe and Joey Logano an opportunity to gamble and play with fire and, put themselves in positions to win, usually they're going to do it. That's what happened last year at Las Vegas, right? Christopher Bell pissed. He's like, what else could I have done? That win puts Logano in the championship 4. He ends up winning Phoenix. This year, same thing. Comes off. I mean, now, in my personal opinion, I think that his 2025 has started off. I mean, I don't actually, you know what? Let me rephrase that. I don't think it started off better in 2025. I think it started identical 2025, right? Daytona, Atlanta. Drafting tracks are absolutely amazing for Joey Logano. He's really good. He's an elite driver at these drafting tracks. Similar situation to the year before. He just got caught up in other people's nonsense. They go to Coda. I mean, nothing spectacular. He's not really a road racer. I mean, I know he's got a road course win. He's not a road racer. Then Phoenix, Vegas, Homestead. He was, 13th, 15th, and 14th there. Then Martinsville at 8th. Darlington 13th. We talked about it at Darlington. Darlington, he had a top 5 car, top 10 car for sure. Top 5 possibly. But in the last pit cycle, his pit crew ended up screwing him up. And we already know about Team Penske and their stupidity on pit road all throughout these last couple of years. And it's absolutely amazing to me that Team Penske has won 3 straight championships with their nonsense behind pit road. I'll be honest with you, though. If they did not win those 3 championships, this pit road nonsense would be massively on display and there would be massive changes going on. The difference is that they won 3 straight championships. But like I said, after Darlington's debacle, Bristol, he didn't qualify well. He didn't run well. He finished 24th. Talladega, he got DQ'd last week after finishing in the top 5. And then this week, he goes down to Vegas or Texas, similar to kind of like what Chase Elliott did last year. Similar to what Chase Elliott did, where it was, they started in the back. Now, Chase Elliott kind of ran off strategy. Logano got better as the race went on. Similar, they did gamble. They had a little strategy, and it paid off. So Logano's locked into the playoffs, folks. I know a lot of people are probably not happy about that. But Joey Logano is locked into the playoffs. Let's talk about his current stats right now, courtesy of NASCAR.com. In 11 races, he's got 1 win, 2 top 10s, 1 top 5, 1 DNF. Average finish, or 291 laps led. Average start, 13.27 is his average start. His average finish is an 18 flat so far in 2025. Kind of sounds a little familiar with what happened last year. Kind of sounds familiar with what happened last year. Got caught up in other people's nonsense. Didn't always have the best equipment. Wasn't always the best driver. And regressed as the race went on. When you see an average start like that and an average finish that's lower than your average start, he's regressing during races. Well, maybe this week at Texas, you got the win in the bag. What did we say about Christopher Bell earlier this year? You have the wins in the bag. Go for it. Get more. I know for a fact that 22 team is not going to be content. There might be multiple wins on the way for the 22. Next up this week on topics. We're going to start off with, we're going to change it up. We're going with Michael McDowell. And For me, I was texting Jake all during the race. For me, Michael McDowell, man, I was pulling for him so hard. I was pulling for Michael McDowell so bad this past week. It's good to always see the 22 lock in for a play, a chance for a championship. It's always good because the stupid things that Joey Logano says and the stupid things that Joey Logano does in order to win races, it keeps, I think, all of his podcasters in business about the sport, right? But I'm not gonna lie, I was so upset with Michael McDowell this week. I thought that he was gonna get it done. Um, McDowell, and I get it, he had a two-tire strategy, and he was on those two tires for a very long, I think it was close to like 47, 48 laps, somewhere around there. If you're listening to us live, if I was off, please feel free to chime in. McDowell was running on an old set of two tires for much longer than probably he should have. And like I said, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it was, I think, 47 laps. He was on on old tires. But when Mike Joyce sitting there starting to talk about Spire Motorsports in the booth before the race, before, as we're closing down laps, you're just like, oh my god, it's just meant to be. This guy's gonna win a race in the 71. And for me, going into the season, when Michael McDowell left front row, I was like, gee, I mean, that's not, and he went to Spire in the 71. I remember thinking in my head, and I've said this too. Well, we're going to find out how good, we're going to find out how good Zane Smith is, or how good Michael McDowell is, and how bad that 71 is, or, is front. Right now, to me, Michael McDowell and that 71 car is not as bad as what Zane Smith was doing last year. Now, granted, Todd Peterson is the crew chief of, or Travis Peterson, excuse me. Travis Peterson is the crew chief of Michael McDowell. He came over from Front Row Motorsports, so they've worked together for a while now. But Michael McDowell in that 71 car, what he has done this year up to date has, to me, been kind of remarkable. I did not expect this from them, and I know we shouted out Spire Motorsports in the beginning of the show. Through 11 races, the stats don't look too pretty. The stats don't look sexy. He's got 0 wins. He's got 0 top 10s, 0 top 5s. He's got 1 pole, 1 DNF. And that was this past week at Texas. His average start is 14.18 and his average finish 18.7. All stats courtesy of NASCAR.com tonight. But when I look at McDowell's driver finish log this season, like I said, those stats I just threw out there do not tell the full story, because Michael McDowell right now has only had 4 finishes of 21st or worse. 4 out of the 11 finishes this year have been 21st or worse. Yes, he has not scored a top 10 so far this season, but let's go down these 11 races with Michael McDowell. Finished 11th at Daytona. I know a lot of people were like, it's drafting track, whatever. Finished 13th at Atlanta. Same thing, drafting track. Start talking to me when it really becomes, real racing. Finished 11th at COTA. Well, we've already know that he's a road course racer. Finished 16th at Las Vegas. Okay, now you're piquing my interest with that 71. Finished 20th at Homestead. Okay, probably, he's right below his average finish this year so far. But then finished 12th at Martinsville. Now, he's been kind of sliding as of late. Finished 29th at Darlington, finished 30th at Bristol, but finished 11th at Talladega, and then finished 26th at Texas. Unfortunately, though, that Texas finish, I definitely could have been much better. You knew that the tires were starting to fall off. You did. While you're watching that race, Logano was getting stronger. McDowell just did not have enough. He didn't have enough distance either, right? Like, Logano ended up getting around Blaney, I believe it was. And you would hope, and you were thinking and hoping that maybe with him getting around Blaney, that may take a couple more laps to get around him. And maybe that'll put more distance for Michael McDowell, where it might be just too much for Logano to chase him down. It wasn't. The interval, I believe, was 0.5 seconds, somewhere around there. It was under. So you started seeing, Logano just creeping and creeping and creeping. I know McDowell tried every stunt he could in the playbook. He tried to block Joey going all the way down the backstretch. Unfortunately, not just did not work for Michael McDowell, Joey Logano did get around him. So, and then the following lap ends up crashing. coming out turn 1 and 2. But all in all, I've been absolutely kind of impressed with what I've seen out of Michael McDowell this season. Like I said, yeah, the skid as of late, 20th, 29th, 30th, and the 26th place finish out of the last 3 out of the last 4 races comes with a little bit of concern, but I'm not totally concerned just yet. Those numbers in the beginning of the season I felt are going to probably help him out in the long run. Right now, he currently sits 20th in the points, but that 71 has speed, and that car has been pretty good. Would not be surprised at all to see, and we've been saying, I just said it with Carson Hocevar, I wouldn't be surprised to see Spire Motorsports in victory lane in the next over the next couple months. They have been pretty impressive, and not just impressive enough, but they just fired, to me, one of the best let go of one of the best crew chiefs in NASCAR, and Rodney Childress. They just let him go. So I'm excited to see what out of Spire Motorsports. As of right now, I'm going to say this final point from Michael McDowell. I questioned, well, let's see who the better car and driver is going to be. You know, was the 71 that bad, or was Zane Smith just not that good? You know, we'll see what Michael McDowell. You know, right now, Michael McDowell in the 71 are proving that, you know, Zane Smith did not even sniff. Zane Smith had a hard time sniffing the top 20 last year in that same car. Now, granted, Travis Peterson, different crew chief, I'll give him that. But McDowell, as I said, yes, 0 top 5s, 0 top 10s, but he has what? 7 out of the 11 finishes of 20th or better. Still kills me. Man, I wish that he would have. I was hoping for him to pull that race off, but again, we got Joey Logano locked in, so we already know how good that's going to be. 2 drivers I will say this week coming out of Texas that I want to say I was very heartbroken with. And I think 2 drivers, I think everyone within the community probably is seeing them they're driving a lot better than what their record and their stats are showing, right? First one up is Josh Berry. And it has been absolutely remarkable to see what Josh Berry has been able to do in the 21. I get that he DNF'd the other day. I totally get that. Finished 32nd at Texas, DNF'd. He led 41 laps in this race. He He wrecked in the lead. Like, nothing more hurts me than seeing Josh Berry. Not just as he, you know, it's very, not just has Josh Berry been successful this year in 2025. He's got the win at Vegas. The crazy part is I think he's been one of the best drivers in NASCAR. The biggest problem with Josh Berry, he only has two top 5s, 2 top 10s. He's got a 4th at Phoenix, and he won at Vegas. We know that. The problem with Berry is that Berry is been very good, but the problem is he continues getting wrapped up in nonsense. I look at Martinsville. He finished 32nd, right? He led, I believe it was 40 laps in that race. Different strategy, but ends up getting caught up in someone else's nonsense. Darlington, he finished 36. He DNF'd. Josh Berry was a top 5 to top 10 car in that race through the first 190 laps of that event. Through the first 190 laps at the Goodyear 400, Josh Berry was a top 5, top 10 car. Josh Berry spun and ended up wrecking on the backstretch and DNF'd. This past weekend at Texas, finishes 32nd. Josh Berry was leading that race. Josh Berry ends up wrecking coming out turns 3 and 4. There's 3 examples right there. And yeah, obviously everything pans out, but you look at the 32nd place finish at Texas, 29 or 25th or 26th, at Talladega. 12th at Bristol. Okay, that's the top 15 finish. Good. 32nd at Martinsville. 26th at Coda. He's not a road course racer. 37th at Daytona, 25th at Atlanta. You see a lot of these stats and you're sitting there going, well, Harrison Burton pretty much kind of put up similar results, but the difference was with Harrison Burton is you might be right. Harrison Burton's driver log last year looks similar to that because he had 1 win and all that good stuff. the difference between Josh Berry and Harrison Burton is Josh Berry's putting that 21 car in competitive advantages. Josh Berry has been incredible, I believe, in that 21 car this season to start off with. Yes, the finishes aren't there, but you know what the nice thing is? He has the win. He has the win, so he's locked into the playoffs right now. Obviously, that team wants better results and all that type of stuff. But Josh Berry, it's not for lack of trying. That 21 car has been really fast to start 2025. Not just has it been really fast, is that Berry is up in the front. Like Wood Brothers Racing is actually legit again. Wood Brothers Racing is leading laps, competitive laps, not these. Well, they stayed out on a two-tire strategy. Let them roll. We're going to see if the caution fly. No, these are competitive laps that he is racing in the top 5 to top 10. And it's a damn shame because I don't think that the results are reflecting what he has done in 2025. I really don't. And yeah, he's got the win, and people are, well, man, he's got the win. Why are you so worried about it? Because he's been much better. He's been much, much better of a driver than what the results show. As I tell people all the time, stop scoreboard watching. It's a damn shame because that sucked with the 21 spinning out of turn string 4 in the lead. It did. When Fox zoomed in on the camera, I was like, oh, come on, really? That turn 3 and 4 in Texas, we'll talk about that in a second. But damn, it just sucks because it was exciting. And again, Wood Brothers is competitive. Josh Berry has been a very, very efficient driver this year in 2025. Obviously, he's got the win, so it definitely helps him out. That brings us to our BWB question of the week. And I'm really excited about this one. And I'm sure that a lot of fans are going to sit there and probably complain and all that type of stuff. What are you talking about? If you are starting a NASCAR team and you have already elite equipment, if you're starting a NASCAR team tomorrow and the equipment's already elite, who would you rather have as a driver? Josh Berry or Chase Elliott? Right now, I'm probably going with Berry over Chase Elliott. I would. And Chase Elliott has been Mr. Consistent, and I hear it all the time. Oh, he's been consistent. All these average or finishes over 20th. Every time I watch a race, I don't see the 9 in the top 10 or top 5 until the last 5 laps of the race. Again, BWB question of the week. It will be posted on our Facebook page tomorrow, but for tonight, if you're listening to us live on YouTube, you get a special, you get a jump start on it. If you are starting a NASCAR team and you have elite equipment already, it's a hypothetical, folks. Don't sit there and tweet at me or go, oh, well, you're not going to start with off with enough. I get it. It's a hypothetical. If you're starting a NASCAR team, if they had a fantasy draft and you had an elite equipment, who would you rather have as your driver, Josh Berry or Chase Elliott? So I'm excited to see those answers. I'm sure we're going to get riled. That's going to be real fun. But yeah, according to NASCAR.com, Josh Berry's stats in 2025. 1 win, 2 top 10s, 2 top 5s, 3 DNFs, 169 laps led. Again, his car is in the lead. 169 laps led over 11 weeks. He's leading laps. Average start, 13.091. His average finish in 2025 to date is a 22.54. Similar to Logano, he's regressing in races. But right now, Berry, 3 of those regressions are due to DNFs. So he ends up flipping those DNFs that he had at Martinsville, Darlington, all that good stuff. He probably ends up finishing in the top 5, top 10. That raises his average finish. He's not really a 22.5 average finish driver right now. He's not. You can't turn on NASCAR. You can't be listening to us going, but man, Josh Berry, it just sucks. Another driver too. It's just like McDowell. It's just like, damn, it's like these 2 drivers. It's like you root for them. It's like, God, man, come on. Another driver too, similar to Josh Berry, Alex Bowman. And I feel like a lot of fans don't give Bowman the credit that he probably deserves. And I get it. He's in Hendrick Motorsports equipment and he should be winning races every single day of the week. I understand that part. But Alex Bowman, to me, has another driver just like Josh Berry. Ends up having stupid mechanical issues. ends up DNFing. I mean, I look at Bristol, right? Finishes 37th. He won the pole. He had top 5 speed. No, was he beating Kyle Larson that day? No, he wasn't. But he had top 5 speed. Similar this week, Texas finishes 35th, DNF'd. A car, a driver in a car that was getting better throughout that race as well. Darlington, another issue. I mean, an issue for Alex Bowman. He was top 10 when he had an issue. Finishes 35th. Bowman has had probably the worst luck, in my opinion, just like Josh Berry. The two of them this year to start throughout the first 11 races, the worst luck I can ever remember from drivers. What's saving Berry, like I just said in the last topic, he has the win. What is crushing Alex Bowman is he does not have a win. Doesn't have a win. But someone actually brought this question up to me recently. They go, rank the 400 drivers at the moment. And I said, okay, well, I mean, I would go Larson and Byron are 1A, 1B. I would say Bowman's probably 2, and then Chase Elliott's 4, or would be 3. I would say Bowman and Byron, Larson and Byron are very similar. I think they're very competitive. I think they're the 2 best drivers in that stable, hands down. They can win each and every single week. And honestly, when you saw the restart this past weekend when Chase Elliott got to the front on the 2-tire strategy, not to continue bashing Chase Elliott, but when Chase Elliott got to the front on 2-tire strategy, I mean, Bowman blew him out of water on that restart. I mean, or not Bowman, Byron. Byron blew him out of the water. Got right around him and just left him aside. Luckily, a caution came out. They had another chance to do it and then did it again. It's the same equipment. Byron and Larson are 1A, 1B. Bowman would be 2. And I think Bowman's closer to this year in 2025. I think Bowman is closer to what Larson and Byron are than to what Chase Elliott is as the lame duck in the stable. And I get that Chase Elliott sits 4th in the points right now, and it's, well, Mr. Consistent and all that type of stuff, but you're not top 5. You're not top 10. And that's what I'm saying with Bowman. It's just like, oh man, it's like all these mechanical issues that came about with him recently. That's another thing. Martinsville, he had a mechanical issue. Ends up finishing 27th. Yes, Bowman's finish log over the last 5 weeks since his second place finish at Homestead has not been good. It just hasn't. He finished 27th at Martinsville. He's finished 25th at Darlington, or 35th at Darlington, 37th at Bristol, 7th at Talladega, and 35th at Texas. Give me a quick second. I'll do the calculation. He's averaging 28.2 average finish over the last 5 weeks. And 2 of his DNFs came in that 5 race stretch. 2 of those DNFs came in those 5 race stretches. So when I look at Bowman, like Bowman has been, again, another driver just like Josh Berry, really good. Unfortunate circumstances. Right now, to me, they've been really good drivers, just really shitty luck in 2025. And I do, and again, Berry saved by the win. I personally do believe that Bowman gets that win very soon. Final topic coming out of Texas this week. Ross Chastain. He's my final topic of driver tonight on the show. You guys all know how much I love Ross. He one of the most entertaining drivers in NASCAR, right? But before while we're talking about Ross Chastain, I want to bring up something that Auto Racing Analytics brought up on Twitter the other day. And I think this is why I think a lot of fans were excited when Ross got an opportunity to be right behind Logano or Byron or Blaney on that restart, because according to Auto Racing Analytics, if you don't follow them on Twitter, X, or Twitter, the web, everything, autoracinganalytics.com. Grant does an incredible job in regards to stats. But so Grant ended up posting it before the final restart. Best restarters on non-drafting ovals in 2025. You know who number one is on that? Ross Chastain. Ross Chastain is the best restarter on non-drafting ovals in 2025 so far. His positions net and positions gained on restarts is 74 positions. According to Auto Racing Analytics, he's only lost positions on just 4 eligible restarts in 11 races in 2025. His net position is plus 74. That is incredible. The second person behind Ross Chastain is Kyle Larson with a plus 26 positions net on restarts. His retention rate on restarts with Ross Chastain is 91.1%. Number 2 on that list is Kyle Larson with an 82.9. So again, Auto Racing Analytics, follow them. Appreciate the stats and the updates on in regards to the best restarters of 2025 so far. And again, Ross Chastain plus 74 net positions in eligible restarts in 2025. This is why people got excited when he got up to the front, because they're like, he's aggressive. One, he's going to make a move, and he's going to go win this damn race. Unfortunately, Logano had a better restart that time, and unfortunately, he was unable to pull off the pass. But in regards to Ross Chastain, and I continue saying this in regards to Ross, I want Ross Chastain to be aggressive. Ross Chastain being aggressive is absolutely incredible for the sport. And you know who else it's incredible for? Trackhouse Racing. And why do I say that? Because Trackhouse Racing's best chance of winning a driver championship before Connor Zilisch comes up is through the one. It just is. I think Justin Marks and Ross Chastain, I think they were both very disappointed with their performance in 2024. They did get the win at Kansas, but I think they were both very disappointed that they were not playoff driver. Last summer, he absolutely got crushed in finishes. I look at Nashville. Would he have won that race? Probably not. Probably finished a second. Kyle Larson ended up basically punching it, ends up spinning him out on a restart. Aggressive Ross Chastain is absolutely incredible for the sport. And I think that's the reason why he's so good on restarts and in regards to gaining positions, because his aggressive mentality and his attitude. And if you have a high retention rate on restarts, as we heard from Auto Racing Analytics, the retention rate is he's not going to fall backwards. He's going to retain positions. Ross Chastain right now, according to NASCAR.com, his average start is 23.54. Okay, that is horrible. So he's not qualifying well at all. But his average finish in 2025 is a 13.5. He is gaining 10 positions almost. He's plus 10 from average start to average finish. And that just doesn't come because you're not aggressive. Ross Chastain is a very aggressive driver, and it's good for the sport. Like I said, it's good for Trackhouse. If they want to win a driver championship, this is the driver you need. Nothing against Daniel Suarez. We've seen what Suarez is as a driver at this point in his career. He's a good driver. He's not elite. And right now, Shane Van Gisbergen has been one of my biggest disappointments in 2025. We'll talk more about Van Gisbergen next week, but he's been a total bust. And I get that people are going to be like, well, Matt, what do you expect? It's his first year in NASCAR. That series that he came from apparently was like the most closest thing you could get to NASCAR. And he's been an absolute disappointment. He's been basically a bulletin board. He's been an advertisement board. That's all he's been. So if I'm Justin Marks, I need the one car in victory lane. I need the one of Ross Chastain, because that's my best chance of winning a championship. And I think, man, if Ross Chastain were to ever win a championship, I think the whole community, that'd be the most bipolar celebration ever. You'll have half the people hating it, half the people loving it. Going back to Ross Chastain, though, again, his 2025, don't get confused whatsoever. His 2025 has absolutely been, it's not been elite, but it's been great. It hasn't been elite, but it hasn't been great. Ross Chastain only has 2 finishes below 20th. 31st at Homestead, where he was just non-existent, and a 40th at Daytona. He finished 20th at Talladega, pulled that move last week. He was running a lot better, but it's drafting. Some people get shuffled out in and out, but he's been you talk about consistency. I know everyone says that like with Chase Elliott, but Ross Chastain's been consistent this year. He hasn't been flashy like we're used to with the one, but he's been very consistent. One thing I will say before we get into our Kansas discuss or final thoughts on Texas, excuse me. The one thing about Ross Chastain, I like Ross Chastain a ton over the next 6 to 7 weeks. I love Ross Chastain's chances over the next 6 to 7 weeks. We have Kansas. Well, we're going to go into our Kansas picks a little bit later on this episode. 1.5 mile track. He's like the king of the 1.5s. Charlotte, not really the best track for Ross. Finished top 10 last year with an 8th place finish. That was his best finish at Charlotte to date. Nashville Super Speedway after Charlotte. Well, he's won there. Trackhouse uses that track as their home track. It's very special to him. He's won there. Should have finished second there last year. Ends up getting spun out. Michigan, the 2 mile open wheel. 2024, he struggled there, but he's been kind of on a roller coaster a little bit. Excuse me. 2024 finished 25th. 2022 he's finished 24th, and then in 2023 he finished 7th at Michigan. I still like him at Michigan because he does lead laps at Michigan. Then after Michigan, we got the Mexico City Road Course, which we already know. It's going to be new to everybody. Give me the driver that's the most aggressive. Pocono, unfortunately, hit the wall last year. I do think that he's going to give himself an opportunity to win at Pocono. And then we have Atlanta after Pocono, and we know he's one of the best drivers at New Atlanta. So if you're a Chastain fan and a fan of the one car, the next 6 to 7 weeks are going to be pretty nice for you. So, all right. Wrap up with Ross Chastain. And final thing, I love this quote. So during this race, Carson Hocevar, who we talked highly of in the started, qualified well, practiced well, all that type of stuff. Him and Ryan Preece got into a wreck late in the race on Sunday, which Preece has actually been a very awesome driver all throughout 2025 to start the season off. That's a driver to me, I think, that could probably end up winning a race very soon. RFK's got speed, but unfortunately this week he ends up DNFing. Well, Ryan Preece ends up calling out Carson Hocevar at the end of this race or after the wreck. He says, I think I know who it was who wrecked me. I think it was the 77 of Hocevar. It's all right. He just seems to be proving me right over and over again. Really fast car, just got ran into the fence by somebody who has no respect for his equipment, and any other driver out there, he'll have his day. So that was Priest's comments after his wreck with Carson Hocevar. And I do believe Hocevar is going to win a race over this season. I do. I think he's a very talented driver. But I think race number 2, right after Atlanta, I did an episode on the Brooklyn Wilbraham podcast, and I said Carson Hocevar is good for the sport. The amount of comments I got about how people can't stand him and all that type of stuff, I don't disagree with the fans. I mean, but I do think he's good for the sport. And this week, though, Carson Hocevar's new victim was Ryan Preece. So I wanted to bring that up to close out Texas tonight. So, final thoughts on Texas. To me, it was a good race. I think it was typical Texas. I just think that it got really silly at the end with all the cautions. But at this point, with how worn out the surface is, with how different strategies come about, I think that it was no surprise. It was no surprise whatsoever. But like I said, like I said before we started tonight, I do not want to see Texas on the schedule as a championship possibility. I don't think it's good enough. But at the same time, I do love it as a one-off track. I like how worn out the surface is. I like the different strategies. It's an interesting racing surface in the spring, not in the playoffs. Again, it's gotten much better. In my opinion, it's become a lot more entertaining to watch that track without 2 race dates and not being a playoff race. So those are my closing thoughts on Texas tonight. Let's get to the Cup Series standings before we get into the Kansas picks this evening. Coming out of Texas, William Byron remains your points leader, and he is ahead of Kyle Larson, who currently sits in second. Denny Hamlin is in third. Chase Elliott's fourth in the points. Tyler Reddick is in fifth. Christopher Bell's in sixth. Seventh is Ryan Blaney. Eighth is Bubba Wallace. Ninth is Joey Logano. 10th is Alex Bowman. 11th is Ross Chastain. 12th is Chris Buescher. 13th is Chase Briscoe. 14th is Austin Cindric. 15th, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. breaks the top 16. And currently sitting 16th in non-playoff format is Kyle Busch. We go to the playoff point standings. Josh Berry would be in the playoffs. Kyle Busch will be the first man out. So Stenhouse would be 16th, by the way, in the playoff standings at this moment. I don't know where he has come from. I don't know where Ricky Stenhouse has come from. That, like I said, in the playoff standings, he's currently 16th. His average finish is 17.18. His average start is 27.2. Again, courtesy of NASCAR.com. Similar to Chastain, he's plus 10 from average start to average finish. I guess that's where he came into the play. 1 top 5, 2 top 10s so far this season for Ricky Stenhouse Jr. That is insane. Looking at that standings. NASCAR standings courtesy of NASCAR.com as well. So I'm sorry, guys, as we head into Kansas picks. I'm baffled. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., it just seems like he's been so irrelevant that he now currently sits 16th in the playoff points. He's 15th in the non-playoff format. Wow. More you know, I guess, tonight. So, all right, final stage tonight of tonight's episode of Broken Wheel Brain podcast. So let's get into some Kansas picks this week. Give you guys some opportunities to gamble and bet. My picks this week for Kansas. Well, Jake, I talked to Jake last night. He's going with Kyle Larson. No surprise there whatsoever. I'm not going to go Kyle Larson because of that. Let's get into some other detailed picks. First up on the board for me this week, I'm going to go Denny Hamlin. 2 wins in the bag to start off 2025. Denny Hamlin in the next gen car in 6 races has a 3.7 average finish with 1 win at this track in the spring of 2023 with 5 top 5s and 6 top 10s. He has led 10.5% of the laps at this track. Denny Hamlin has been magnificent at Kansas. And I get that Kyle Larson and Chris Buescher had an incredible finish last year, but I think that Denny Hamlin cannot be forgotten about at this track. 3.7 average finish with 10.5% of the laps led, according to driveraverages.com. Second place on this list is Kyle Larson, and Alex Bowman are tied at 7.2 average finish. Hamlin is plus 3 point, I believe it's 3.8. Let's just make it an even number. Let's go 4. He's 4 positions ahead on average finish. Denny Hamlin is over Kyle Larson and Alex Bowman. Give me Denny Hamlin, pick number 1 this week. Pick number 2, going with Ross Chastain. We talked about Mr. 1.5. We're going to go with him now. I love Ross Chastain this week. Absolutely do. According to driveraverages.com, he has an 8.7 average finish in the 6 races here at Kansas. He won this race last fall with and he's got 2 top 5s, 4 top 10s. He has led 6.4% of the laps at this track. I love Ross Chastain whenever we go to 1.5s, the oval 1.5s, the Vegases, the Kansases. These tracks are just magnificent for him and his driving abilities and also Trackhouse racing. I love Ross Chastain this week a lot. I would have chose Chastain as number 1, but Hamlin at a 3.7 average finish, I couldn't pass that up. So give me Hamlin and Chastain to start the picks off this week at Kansas. Final pick this week I'm going to go with. In the next gen car, I am going to go with Christopher Bell. Christopher Bell, pick number 3 for me. Average finish, according to driveraverages.com, at Kansas in the next gen cars at 10.8 in 6 races. He's got 2 top 5s, 5 top 10s, but here's the kicker. He sits second since the next gen car in laps led percentage at 12.1% behind only Kyle Larson at 17.2. Bell to me this is one of those places where it's like he's been so good that he has not capitalized yet. And it's kind of a head scratcher on how he has not capitalized. Give me Christopher Bell as pick number 3 this week. Other names that I would probably keep an eye out for, but none of my picks. Chase Elliott's been notoriously good here at this track. I mean, if you're a Chase Elliott fan, I would get my hopes up that this could be the week that he gets something done. Both 23XI drivers, Bubba Wallace and Tyler Reddick, they both have won races here, and for a while, I mean, 23XI won 3 out of 4 races in that stretch of 2022 to 2023. They swept 2022. Bubba Wallace and Kurt Busch both won a race, and then Reddick won this fall of 2023 race. So I would still keep an eye on both 23XI drivers of Bubba Wallace and Tyler Reddick. Bubba right now is actually within the top 10 of average finish according to driveraverage.com at Kansas with a 13.5. And he also has 1 win, 2 top 5s, 3 top 10s with 4.4% of the laps led. Reddick is not to be found within the top 15. But I don't want to count Tyler Reddick out this week. So like I said, names that I like Elliott, I like Bubba, and I like Tyler Reddick. But those are going to be my picks this week: Denny Hamlin, Ross Chastain, and Christopher Bell. So, all right. With all that being said, we're taking the checker flag tonight. So, one episode. Lots talked about at Texas. Again, it was a fun week down there. Midwest Swain. We're almost to the home stretch of NASCAR on Fox, and we are getting close to NASCAR's coverage on Prime. But with all that being said, thank you again, folks, so much for following, listening, and joining in tonight, whenever you listen. Looking forward to, obviously meeting some of you folks at tracks, talking to you all, getting more involved with every single person or all of our fans. So, again, appreciate the love, appreciate the support. And again, if you're going to Kansas, like I do every single week, if you're going to Kansas, enjoy your race weekend out in the Sunflower State. And if you're watching it at home, enjoy it wherever you're at. And we will chat with all of you next week. Like I said, I'll have Jake back next week. Looking forward to that, so we can talk Kansas with all of you. Have a wonderful Mother's Day weekend, and we will chat next week. Good night.
Will you tell Mr. Dennett that Ricky Bobby is my best friend, and it's shaking big time.